for coming down to attend our seminar this afternoon. My name is Rachel. I'm from Seville, Singapore. Together with Seville Singapore, we are very proud to have this collaboration with JLL Singapore as well. And we have a good lineup of speakers for you today to start our seminar. First of which is Alex Carr from JLL. He is the Senior Director of London Prime Homes, and he will be talking to us about the London market update. And following which, I have my colleague all the way from London as well, Mr. Ashford Coles, who is a Seville Senior Director. He is going to talk about the 9 Elms regeneration. And last but not least, this exhibition that we're here to find out more on is the Battersea Power Station. So lastly, we have the developers here to talk us through the development in general itself. So we will have an open Q&A session. Please keep your questions till the end of the presentation. But if not, we have agents around the room to come to you on a one-to-one basis. And if you have any questions for the speakers, you may approach them later on from the presentation, after the presentation is over, to ask some questions. Without further ado, can I please invite Mr. Alex Carr to come and speak to us on the London market update.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hi. My name's Alex Carr. I'm a senior director at JLL in London, and I specialise in residential development consultancy and sales, specifically in prime central London. And I'm going to give you a London market overview today, underpinning the reasons of why it's a phenomenal time to buy in London, and specifically at this fantastic development you see in front of you, the world famous, iconic Battersea Power Station. But first, let's talk about London. What are the reasons of buying in London? Well, there are many reasons. You can see a lot of them up here. But generally, we can fit these into 3 groups: wealth preservation, track record, and lifestyle. When it comes to wealth preservation, London is seen as a safe haven for investment. It's very transparent, it's open for business, it's ranked in our Global Cities Index as the most transparent place to buy in the world. And then you've got track record. Strong performance, which we'll go through in a bit, of price growth and rental growth, with an undersupply of housing continuing to underpin the growth. I'll touch on some of the undersupply in a bit as well. And lifestyle factors. Well, it's a world leader in education. It's got a strong cultural and leisure scene. People are familiar with the city. They want to live there. They want to go there on holiday. They want to do business there. It's got everything you need. And talking about the lifestyle, well, here are some quick figures and facts about London's lifestyle. 300 languages are spoken across the UK, more than any other city in the world. If you like the theatre, any production that you can imagine, it's in London, of course. Music, 22,000 live music performances every year. Restaurants, 71 Michelin-star restaurants. It's put a little bit of weight on me, but it's fantastic restaurants there. 1,050 museums, galleries, culturally diverse. Everything you could want in terms of culture is there. And then for me, the one I like most is this one, the number of football clubs in London. I don't know if anyone's into football. 7 Premier League football clubs in London with a combined total seating capacity of 300,000. Although I need to note the most important club in London is Tottenham Hotspur. It's the best team in London, possibly the best team in the world. And if you go to London, I highly recommend you ignore the other clubs and just focus on Tottenham. It's very important. So turning to some more serious metrics, well, what makes London so strong? Now, this is an index, it's called the Zen Financial Centres Index, and it's a renowned index that's been measuring the scale and infrastructure of global financial centres for the last 2 decades. London is widely recognised to be a really strong global financial centre. What you can see here in the red bars are our European counterparts. The other bars, the grey bars, are across the other financial centres across the world. Despite some of the concerns that Brexit might have stunted the London position, it still remains by far the strongest financial centre in Europe. You can see we're number 2 on the list here. We are consistently number 1 or number 2 on this list, and we remain number 2 on this list at the moment, just behind New York, but obviously far in front of our European compatriots. And then we're not just a global financial centre. It's the European capital of digital industries. The UK's capital tech ecosystem is valued at close to $1 trillion. It's the first for new startups. It's home to 122 tech unicorns. There are more than 350,000 tech workers in London. Financial and tech coming together has created opportunities, and that's a big string to London's bow. And what makes it so appealing is that we have everything in one city. For instance, if you look at America, there are hundreds of miles between their tech capital, which is in LA, and their financial city, which is in New York. In London, they're a mile apart from the city of London, the city inside the city of London, to our tech hub, which is based just outside Shoreditch. There's only a mile between them, and that gives tech firms a lot of opportunity. And I really can't underestimate the importance of education. When we all come overseas, it's one of the things we get asked most, and it has been the question I've been asked most for the last 10, 15 years. Education, education, education. Can't underestimate how good the education is in London. London and the UK as a whole continues to be a very attractive place for international students. There's been a threefold increase in the past 15 years in terms of applications from overseas students who come to study in London, and this is an important driver for demand for rental homes, because 25% of JLL tenants are students. 50% of those come from overseas. 4 of the top 10 universities worldwide are in the UK, 2 are in London, with London being more highly rated for universities than any other global city. I went too quickly. 4 of the top 10, excuse me while I'm making a mess here, 4 of the top 10 universities worldwide are in London. And UK cities remain a very popular choice for overseas students, with the number of non-EU students applying to study at record highs. London is top when it comes to education. Now at JLL, it's also not all about education and about financial hubs. In London, at JLL, we regularly survey our buyers and tenants to see how requirements have changed. What we've seen recently, and these are results of surveys we did recently, is that buyers want to be more connected to good neighbourhoods. They want access to green spaces. They want bars, shops, and restaurants on their doorstep, and want very good access to transport. This has become more important. It's what we call the 15-minute village. Most people who are buying into London now want this kind of 15-minute village feel, and London and most of its schemes, and particularly its regeneration schemes, offer this. And schemes and developments which offer this are really resilient to any market changes. And that leads me nicely into Battersea. That's what's so great about this project, because it offers all of those things. It is a 15-minute town or a 15-minute village. Battersea and that 9 Elms regeneration, it's creating 25,000 jobs. 25,000 people will be living and working in the area. 40 million visits are going to be anticipated at the power station this year. The power station obviously just opened just before we came out. It's unbelievably busy when you go down there now. It's quite incredible. It's going to bring 250 plus shops, restaurants, retail outlets, entertainment amenities. 19 acres of green space, landscaping. There'll be events going on within the power station, within the jetties, within the river frontage, within that landscaping, making it a really fun, diverse place to live. And Ash, when he comes to speak to you about the 9 Elms project, will tell you a little bit more about this. Turning to the broader housing market, well, how are things performing at the moment? That's probably the question most of you are asking. Well, we're still seeing strong growth, the highest actually since the pre-referendum, with the latest annual change at around 9%. Price growth has been particularly strong over the last 2 years, regardless of inflation and debt. And transitional activity has been on the rise too. These are quarterly sales in prime central London. Quarter 3, 2022 was the busiest third quarter since 2015, and the busiest quarter aside from quarter 2, 2021 for 7 years, especially in prime central London. Prime central London is very, very busy, and again, Battersea sits within that prime central London patch. And the rental market, well, the rental market is on fire in the UK at the moment. With some uncertainty on the sales side, particularly for first-time buyers, we expect the rental market is going to continue. At the moment, we continue to see demand for rental properties both in London and across the UK outstrip supply. The number of homes available to rent in London now versus pre-pandemic in 2019 has fallen by 35%. And we're seeing an average increases in achieved rents of between 10 and 11% in London and just shy of 10% across the UK as a whole. And in certain markets where we're seeing even higher growth. Certain markets in broader London terms, we've even seen up to 20%. So the rental market is incredibly strong, and with the undersupply, we see that driving even further. So what does that mean to our forecasts? Well, this is hot off the press because we only just recently redid our forecast a few days ago. Some of you may have seen it and some of you may not have. The main figure is the one on the left here, which is the central London house price growth, or your zone 1, zone 2, prime central London. And we're saying 19% over the next 5 years. We remain very confident that the central London market, which is, as I said, where Battersea is located, will see growth next year. We do expect there to be a slight cooling in prime, granted, but an ongoing balance between supply and demand, less reliance on debt and very little new supply in central London, will support prices and underpin growth. And again, I'll show you something in a second which shows that undersupply. Across Greater London, we're expecting a bit more of a correction, okay, with a slight price drop of around 4% in house prices. That's in Greater London. However, ultimately, we do expect that to be really short, and prices will be growing again prices will be growing again by 2024, and as you can see, in 5 years' time, up to 6%. So the market message is very strong right now. And here's a graph that kind of underpins that whole supply and demand piece. In short, just to sum it up, we need to deliver around 52,000 homes per year to satisfy demand in London. Anyone in London will tell you there's hardly anything coming through, and there has been for quite some time. At the moment, we're building about 20,000 homes, and it's only getting less and less. So when you've got a statistic like that, it's always going to underpin demand and drive value. Oh, sorry. And what does that mean for the rental market? Well, we touched on it before. We expect there's going to be fewer first-time buyers with inflation and the cost of debt. That will mean increased demand for rental properties nationally. And we are also anticipating the current supply-demand imbalance that we just spoke about will support rents of about 20% across London over the next 5 years, which is that statistic down there on the bottom left of your screen. And then there's the other stories which a lot of you already know about, but the Singapore dollar is strong. Singapore dollars, £1 million equates to 1.6 million Singapore dollars. That's down from 2.1 million in 2015 and more than 3 million in 2007. And a similar thing with the pound to dollar. It's at a 17-year high. Almost 20%, alongside forecasts that we presented of almost 20% price growth in the next 5 years, purchasers can really take advantage of that weak sterling. This chart shows the £1 million equivalent in US dollars, showing the currency advantage of a strong dollar. The cost of a 1 million home in dollars is now around 1.1 million Singapore dollars, compared with over 2 million in 2008. So that leads you to, well, should we jump in now? Should we not jump in now? When is the time right? Well, the pound is, according to the Oxford Economics forecasts, the pound is due to increase in value. It's expected to appreciate by 14% by 2024 and by 26% in 2017. This means there is a real fantastic window of opportunity for overseas buyers now. So, to sum up, London is familiar, it's transparent, it's a great place to invest. There is a strong employment market. There's a growing education sector. It's the envy of the world. Demand is strong and prices and rents and forecasts are due to rise. Add this to the currency fluctuations and the investment case for overseas purchasers appears even more compelling than it has ever been, especially for a scheme like Battersea Power Station, which is one of the most famous, iconic landmarks, not just in London, but in the world. And I'm going to pass you to my colleague, Ash, from Savills, who's going to talk to you about 9 Elms and the regeneration that's going on there. Thank you.
Super. Thanks very much.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, whatever it is. Thanks very much, Alex, and thank you all for coming today. As Alex and Rachel said, I work for Savills in our international team, and I'm just going to run you through a few slides on 9 Elms and what our research teams have identified as the trends that have sort of underpinned the growth of the area over the last years of its construction. So what is the vision for 9 Elms? So 9 Elms is the largest regeneration area in London, and it is also the most central, sitting just on the south bank of the river, stretching all the way from Vauxhall through to Battersea. At 227 hectares, it's larger than Hyde Park, so to put it into context, it's bigger than Hyde Park. And as Alex mentioned, it has scope for 20,000 new homes altogether, to provide 25,000 new jobs. And it's estimated that by 2030, the end of the decade, 2030, circa 33,000 people will be living in 9 Elms. A new commercial district is emerging in the area. The master plan has provision for 6.8 million square feet of commercial space. And key anchor tenants already include Apple, who are taking up 500,000 square feet at Battersea Power Station, opening their London campus there. The US Embassy, which moved to 9 Elms in 2018, and Penguin and DK publishing houses. What our research teams have seen is that a lack of stock in the West End, a lack of availability in the West End, has forced larger occupiers to look further afield into submarkets like 9 Elms. And we've also seen a large number of independent retailers, restaurants and bars opening up as the area's developed. It will come as no surprise to you that infrastructure improvements create house price growth premiums, and the development of 9 Elms has been underpinned by the extension of the Northern Line, which opened in September last year with 2 new Zone 1 stations, 9 Elms and Battersea Power Station. Our research team's kind of closest comparison to this is the extension of the Jubilee Line, where they observed a 7.3% annual price growth premium over the rest of the London market in the few years after it became operational, and a cumulative 5-year premium of 26%. Similarly, where we've seen retail enhancements, the areas have benefited from a cumulative 5-year premium of 17%. And nowhere has benefited from better retail enhancements, I have to say, in London, probably ever, than the new retail offering at Battersea Power Station. In the first half of this year alone, footfall through the 2 new stations increased by 85%. And with the opening of the retail at Battersea Power Station, they had 250,000 visitors in the first weekend alone. You know, the numbers of people coming down now to shop and eat in the area is just staggering. So we're seeing enormous amounts of growth off the back of that. And the increased footfall has given retailers and other businesses the confidence to open up in the area. So moving on to the kind of culture, 9 Elms, as it says here, is developing a distinct and unique culture of its own. We talk in the industry a lot about placemaking, but you know, what does that really mean? It's basically what it is about the area that makes it really unique and interesting and motivates people to come and visit it. It's not just a question of building new homes and new offices and hoping that the environment, you know, runs away with itself. It's about creating a destination for people, not just Londoners, but people, you know, all over the world. So this slide shows the kind of breadth on offer in 9 Elms. You've got heritage on the left-hand side in the restoration of the chimneys at Battersea Power Station and the turbine halls. You've got 18 public galleries across the area, 24 cultural venues, including the Royal College of Arts in Battersea. You've got the Happy Streets Festival, which is it's a well-being festival that has live music and street performances. You've got the 4.5 hectare linear park that runs all the way through the heart of the area from Battersea through to Vauxhall. And the Thames Path is being extended as well. And you've got hundreds of shops, bars and restaurants as already mentioned. Further to this, you've got future potential to extend the low line and redevelop all the railway arches that run through the south of the area through to Waterloo. And as Alex and I have mentioned, I think really no one development in 9 Elms and possibly even London does placemaking better than Battersea. You know, the activation of their public realm through, well, the team will give you all the details on that afterwards. I don't need to go into it, but open cinemas, ice skating rinks, Christmas markets, they've really just done a fantastic job, and it really creates the atmosphere that people look for and aspire to and wish to go out of their way to visit. So moving on to residential, this slide shows what's been delivered in 9 Elms so far, and you can see that over 8,000 private residential apartments have been completed, and you've got 6,000 that are in various stages of construction. There are also those in pre-planning which haven't been put on this slide. The standout for me is that over half of the proposed apartments in 9 Elms are either completed or in construction, which means that the area is very well established already, but with a huge amount of growth potential still to come. So what is the 9 Elms community? Who is moving there and why? This slide shows that, well, you've got a sort of heat map of the various price bands around the surrounding area, and the dots are pinpoints of where people have moved from into 9 Elms. So 20% our research team have found are people moving in from outside of London. Key cities that we've identified people moving from include Brighton, Manchester and Edinburgh. 45%, so nearly half of those moving from within London are moving from the local South London boroughs of Lambeth and Wandsworth. And then a further 39, so nearly 40% of those moving into 9 Elms from London are moving from the north side of the river, 11% of which have come from the sort of prime central London boroughs of Kensington and Chelsea, Westminster and Hammersmith and Fulham. And the research team have identified a cluster here, a hotspot of movers from Victoria and Pimlico, which is hardly surprising. This is the SW1 postcode, and 9 Elms is principally SW8. And as it shows down there, 44% is the difference in the price between the two areas. People are not just moving to 9 Elms for value, though. An investigation into our lettings deal book, as Alex mentioned, the rental market is absolutely on fire in 9 Elms, and we've seen incredible growth, well outperforming the rest of the London average. And what we found is that the people moving to, or looking to rent in 9 Elms are generally young, and they're moving for the lifestyle that's on offer there, as shown here. So 60% of tenants moving to 9 Elms stated lifestyle relocation as their principal reason for moving. Employment relocation was also a significant 30%, which is unsurprising given the infrastructure improvements that we've seen and the large businesses moving into the area. A quick look at nationality. You can see the tenant population is dominated by UK renters, but North American and Chinese also make up significant proportions, 12% each respectively. So final slide for me is just demonstrating that age range for the rental population in 9 Elms. The light purple is the 9 Elms average, and the dark purple the rest of London. And on the far left-hand side, you can see that the average age between 18 and 35 of tenants moving to 9 Elms is far higher than the London average. In fact, 37%, as is written there, of households moving to 9 Elms are aged under 40, and this increases significantly to 51% if you focus solely on the rental population. We found also that the average income of people moving to 9 Elms is slightly higher than the London average, so 16% of movers have a household income of over £100,000, which is 4% above the London average of 12%. Finally, 20% of people moving to 9 Elms have children. So what does this mean? I guess in summary, the 9 Elms regeneration area is already well established. It is diverse in its population, and it's got a huge amount of growth potential still to come. And we're really excited to be working alongside the Battersea Power Station team to launch their new building, Kerr, and I'll pass over to them now. Thank you.
Sorry, just this one.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name's Bibi with Battersea Power Station.
And I'm Archie Smith-Osborne from Battersea as well. Thank you for joining us. Where are we? We want to go here. So yeah, it fills me with a huge amount of pride actually to stand here and talk to you about Battersea Power Station 2 weeks after we opened the building. It was a huge moment on the 14th of October. And you know, you can see some from the pictures behind me here that it was, you know, a massive occasion with a huge amount of people, and it's been a 10-year, at least a 10-year work in progress throughout to get to this point. A lot of people, or it's been known as the Everest of real estate. And you know, 2 weeks ago we climbed to the summit of that Everest. And you know, it's been a 10-year project filled with milestones to get to this point, including, you know, launching and completing phase 1, Circus West Village. We've already completed the residential inside the power station, residential in the 3rd phase. And this is just the pinnacle of all of that, opening the building to the public. And just here, I've got a video for you, if that's going to play. So near enough 90,000 people came down on the first day alone, first day to enjoy the power station, and it was a bit of a frenzy, I'm not going to lie. There were people literally running inside of the building just to get a catch of the first glimpse of the power station, the retail, and the turbine halls, which have been amazingly restored. The power station's filled with the retail's filled with leading brands, all of the big names, the household names, some really cool bars. We've saw the control room B, the restored power control room. And we caught the attention globally, worldwide. This building is known and recognized throughout the world, and you can see from the press here that we've really put ourselves properly on the map. And you know, along the London skyline now, these 4 chimneys are known as one of the most important and exciting places to come and visit in London. It's recognized now alongside the likes of the Shard, the City buildings. It sits here on the south bank of the Thames, a stone's throw from Chelsea, on the western edge of Elms, and as Alex and Ashford has said today, it's within 15 minutes of pretty much the whole city. We've opened the tube station last year. We opened a Zone 1 tube station. Connectivity-wise, it could not be better now. We've got the Thames Clipper. We've got all of the Thames Clipper, sorry, is the riverboat service, which takes us up and down the Thames all the way to Greenwich and up to Putney in the west. So we've got everything on our doorstep. We are very much on the map. I'm going to hand over to Bibi to talk to you a little bit about the site, the development as a whole, and what we've already done and what's to come.
Thank you very much, Archie. So I'll begin with the master plan. We're over 42 acres site, very large site. The first chapter in the development is Circus West Village, established and handed over 2017. We have over 1,000 residents within that phase, or village, should I say. And then the second chapter is the power station itself. This is the centerpiece, this is the heartbeat of the development and why we are here today. As Archie mentioned, we opened to the public on the 14th of October, which was a 10-year, sort of, it's been an anticipated opening for over 10 years for us, specifically, because we've been working on the project for quite a long time. And then to the south of the power station, we have Battersea Roof Gardens and Prospect Place, which make up the architectural side of the development. So you have Norman Foster and Frank Gehry, big headliners. And that section also has the tube station, and the future phases, which will be 10 to 15 years plus.
So just to touch on a little bit more of what I was mentioning about the transport and the links, at the southeastern end of the development, we've got the tube station, which opened in September last year. I think I remember rightly in saying over, I think it was 5 million journeys have been made on the tube station. That's just, a staggering amount of people have come down and to visit the power station, and that's only going to continue to rise. Now we've got the power station open. This is just a little bit about the Northern Line if you didn't know about it already. It was extended from Kennington. We've got one station at Elms here, and then Battersea Power Station is the end of the line. And from there, we can get up to Leicester Square, so the West End in 11 minutes, and you can get to Bank, so the city, in 15 minutes with one change at Kennington. So it's super easy to get around. Zone 1 as well, that does wonders for any sort of investment tool. We're in the centre of London in Zone 1, and easy access to the rest. So a little bit about the power station itself, the main building. It's a completely mixed use building. We've got everything in there from residential. There's 250 apartments. They are located on the sides in Switch House West and East. That's West and East, and then the very top is Boiler House Square, where we've got our signature apartments called the Sky Villas. There's also offices in here. You can see here right in the middle of the Boiler House, which is this area between the chimneys. We've got 6 floors that we've handed over to Apple to open their London campus, and they're expected to come in early January, their first employees. So overall they've got about up to 3,000, capacity for 3,000 employees to work in this office, and that just tells you something about the potential for any tenant, if you're a buy-to-let investor, who are likely to come and want to live in these apartments. Well, you've got there a catchment of nearly 3,000 people, very well-paid executives from Apple. Now below Apple is really the exciting part. That is the public realm. So we've got the restored turbine halls, which I'll come on to in a second, where we have filled them with over 100 shops, restaurants and retail units. in the amazingly restored Turbine Hall A. This was the side built in the 30s. You saw from this plan here, we've got this side, the western side is the 30s, and believe, well, a little fact for you if you didn't know already, the power station was actually built in two halves. The western side was the 30s and the eastern side the 40s, and that is why we have two of everything. So we've got a central boiler house, we have a turbine hall A, we have a control room A, and we have a switch house west. And on the 10 years later, 15 years later, we opened the other side just after the war, and you can see very clearly in these pictures the difference in styles. The west side is this very Art Deco inspired, grandly designed and laid out turbine hall with all of the old features such as the gantry crane and the faience tiles and Italian marble that was imported from Italy. And then on the east side we've got the more sort of postmodern, contemporary, cooler, funkier side in Turbine Hall B. And then within Turbine Hall B, sitting, sorry, just here if you can't see, we have the control room which we've opened up as a new bar for, it will be one of the coolest, most exciting bars, or is already actually, it's open. The other control room A, is the most protected part of the building, which we've opened which will be an event space. So if you ever want to have a private event, then you can go ahead and inquire about that. Just a little note about the rest of the power station, what's opened. It's all the big brands. I mean, everyone that you would expect to come into a shopping centre, we've got them. We've got everyone here from Arcade, who is the food hall, the market hall, which sit on the third floor of the boiler house, plus all of the names like Joe Malone, Tommy Hilfiger, Ralph Lauren, Uniqlo, and so on. You can see them all here. Another big part of the power station, what the public have to access, is the chimney lift. Now I don't know if you've heard about this, but we have built a glass elevator that sits in the northwest chimney, which you can pay something like £10 or £15 to go into and pop out the top northwest top of the chimney. It's called lift 109 because it's 109 meters above the ground level. And you know, this alone is comparable to the Shard viewing platform, the London Eye. It is a destination that people are going to flock down to go and use, and the rest of it. Now, BB's going to continue on a little bit about phase 3, which we mentioned is to the south of the power station. We've got Geary on one side, Foster's on the other side, and BB's going to tell you a little bit more about the makeup of phase 3.
Thank you very much, Archie. So we have two amazing architects, Frank Geary, who's designed Prospect Place, the two white buildings that sit side by side, and they are primarily residential buildings. On the lower floors, is all the retail element that will sit below that, and 746 apartments combined between Battersea Roof Gardens and Prospect Place. We have an exciting hotel within Battersea Roof Gardens, which is the Art Hotel. It's a boutique hotel, over how many?
160 odd apartments.
160 rooms in there. They will have a hotel restaurant at the top on the 15th floor, and it will be headed up by a Michelin star chef from Spain. Yeah. And they will also have a spa and
rooftop swimming pool?
Yes, at the top, sorry. Lost for words there. And again, more retail within phase 3.
So phase 3, as Beeb said, is predominantly residential, but on the lower floors we have a collection of an extension of the retail. So we have splitting the Prospect Place, the Roof Gardens and the Geary buildings. We've got Electric Boulevard, which is Battersea's brand new high street. And down there we've got 2 floors. It's a pedestrianised high street. We've got 2 floors on the Battersea Roof Gardens side, which is where Coa is, and then on the other side we've got Zara, for example, being the anchor tenant, or have taken up most of the ground floor of the Prospect Place 1 building, and we've got Third Space, which is one of the coolest and newest gym fitness clubs in London. It really attracts a following third space does. It's more than just a place to go and work out. It is an extension of every part of the gym, and you've got an indoor swimming pool, spa, and all of the works you'd expect inside a high-end gym. On the Electric Boulevard side here, we've got smaller units, so already opened. We've got Leon on the ground floor. We've got Oseo, which is an Asian supermarket, and various others coming in the future. Also, our marketing suite is going to move there as well. So when you come to visit us in the next few months, you can come to our marketing suite on the ground floor of COA. And then on to the reason why we are all here. So 2 weeks ago, we launched our fourth and final block of Battersea Roof Gardens. It's called COA, which is the name of a tree, in keeping with the other names of the Roof Gardens buildings. It's a collection of 204 apartments. They're all studios, one beds, and 2-bedroom apartments. And on the top of the building, we have the roof gardens themselves, which are these beautifully designed rooftop gardens. Just a little bit about the makeup here. I've told you about the studios, one beds, and everything here. Now, COA currently under construction. It's due to complete in October, November 2023. So from a purchasing perspective, we are taking reservations now, exchanging on 10%, and completing in about a year's time on the 90%. So that's the sort of timeframes you can work on. We've already got 3 show apartments, so we fast-tracked the ground floor of COA to create real apartments, show apartments. We've got them furnished now. So again, if you are coming to London, then we can show you the real thing there, and they look absolutely fantastic. We've taken a bit more of a contemporary edge with these apartments. It's still obviously in the same building as the rest of what's completed, but it's got a much more contemporary design to it. Elements of the industrial style of the power station, but mainly just a modern style. And with the layouts, we've changed our tack on these. Previously, you can see here, previously we would have made a larger bedroom, which is a lovely thing to have, but actually given the space that we've got and the modern trends of working from home, we have created a lot of these apartments, especially the one beds, to have work from home spaces, study areas within the apartment, which I think just shows that we're trying to move with the times and modern work habits, and giving everyone that extra space that you need because everyone's spending a lot more time in their homes. And I think this is a much better addition and much more versatile addition to these apartments. The thing to know about or understand about these new build developments is the amenities that you get with it. Everyone pays a service charge. I'll come on to that in more depth later, but together with the apartment, you get access to these high-end 5-star amenities, such as a 5,000 square foot gym, which is located on the ground floor of the Roof Gardens building. And then on the top floor, as I mentioned before, we've got the roof gardens, the element that gives the building its name. It's this beautifully designed and maintained garden in the sky. It was designed by the same people who did the High Line in New York. So as Bibi said, it's all about architecture. It's all about design in Phase 3. It's the top names. You're really buying into people's a work of art here. And obviously, as people come to expect nowadays, there's 24-hour concierge in huge lobbies on the ground floor. And on the top 2 floors, you've got the Sky Lounge, which is about 8,000 square foot of space over the top 2 floors of Roof Gardens. We've got meeting rooms, event spaces, private event spaces. We've got a cinema room. We've got lounge spaces, co-working space, private lounge spaces, and we've got a bar as well, offering amazing views both east and west. So your amenity package is as good as it can get within Phase 3, within COA. And then just to tell you a little bit about the apartments themselves, price ranges. Now, we've got here studios, 1 beds and 2 beds. I actually have to say to you that one at 555,000 is no longer available. We are currently starting around 600,000 for studios, but the rest of those price ranges is about accurate. And you can see the yields, pretty competitive. These yields getting, between around 3%, 4% in the case of some studios, up towards 5% for some. And that is, I think, an underestimate of what will actually happen. The rental market, as my colleagues have been saying, is exploding at the moment, and there are some people are paying, you know, easily £600 a week to rent a studio apartment, which was unheard of even a year ago. That figure was previously at about £450 a week. £450 a week. So, you know, the rental market is doing incredibly well, and I think that's benefiting everyone, especially investors. That draws us to a close. So thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, we are all here. Ash is here if you want to ask about 9 Elms, or we all know everything about 9 Elms and the market in general. So feel free to come and ask us. We've got the whole teams from Savills and JLL here to support us, and feel free to ask us questions. Come and take us aside and ask away. But thank you for listening, and we hope to talk to you a bit more in a few minutes' time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.